Skyzone.Society.
Yo, what's going on, my peoples? What's good? You know what I mean? You're now tuned into the Zone Sports Podcast. You know what I mean? I'm one half of the host, Big V. You see my guy over there. What's going on?
What's up? It's your boy COOL. What the hell? AKA known as Corey, man. What's going on, man?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You know the vibes, baby. You good?
Yeah, man. We all right here, man. We're good. These sports is something else, man. But I'm glad we're here to talk about it. You know what I'm saying? But we good.
Absolutely, man. You know what I mean? Before we kick it off, let me shout out to my brand, Skyzone.Society. Make sure you shopping at Skyzone.Society.bigcartel.com. You know what I mean? For all your hats, you know what I mean? Your hoodies, your tees, you know what I mean? Your candles, everything you need. We got it up there, baby. You know what I mean? Now,
Right.
time to jump into some sports. You know what I mean?
Let's talk
man.
sports, man. Let's talk sports.
Let's talk about this. Let's talk about this bombshell that's been going on the past couple of days. Man, if you've been on the rock or if you ain't been tapped in, the boy Aaron Rodgers wants out of Green Bay. He wants out of there, Corey.
He want up out of there.
He said, He said, I'm not having it no more. I want up out of here. Breaking news. You know what I mean? He gave him his 3 trade destinations. You know what I'm saying? Corey, what's going on, baby? You know what I mean? Like, what's going on? What's your thoughts on it, baby?
When I heard this story, I'm not going to say I'm totally surprised of hearing about it. I'm more so surprised of the timing, basically right of the draft. And this has been blood boiling for years now, really, or whatnot. Now, my thoughts are as this: he signed the extension back in 2018. I want to say it was roughly around about 120 something million, give or take. You know how the NFL contracts are. I want to say it was close to 90 million guaranteed. So when he took the money, and I'm not really faulting any, especially NFL player, for taking that type of money. And I'm not going to say he doesn't deserve it, because he does. But it's historically known that in football, when you take that kind of money, you could kind of forget about Super Bowls and things of that nature. Not to say that if you take a pay cut that you will get a championship. That's not the case at all. But you playing the odds at this point, or whatnot. Now, the thing is that Green Bay historically, they do okay at drafting. They're not the best. They're not the worst. They're not like bad as the Patriots, but they're not as good as, like, my guys, the 49ers, wink, wink. But so you're really trusting the front office to make right draft picks so you can get great, especially defensive and offensive players that you don't have to worry about paying for the next 3 or 4 years. So obviously, as has always been known, Green Bay isn't really a trade destination, or anything like that. So, you're really going to have to take that pay cut to get people to go there. Now, that being said, I think Aaron Rodgers' mindset was of that well, look, if they're not going to do it anyway, then I might as well get my bread. If they're content with going to the playoffs every year and getting smoked, or even making it to the NFC Championship game, if I'm not mistaken, twice in a row, and getting smoked due to our inefficiencies on defense, then that's what it is. But that still don't mean that he's not frustrated with what's going on. You could look in a vacuum and say that, hey, Aaron Rodgers should have at least 2, if not 3 championships right now, or whatnot. And he said this, I remember he said this a few years ago when he came back from a tough game, and his exact words was like, oh man, it's amazing what you could do with a defense. Right. And that was when I think that year, I want to say either 2017 or 2018. My mind might slip me a little bit, but I want to say Green Bay was like in the top 5 of defense that year with it. So to me, in my opinion, the straw that broke the camel's back was drafting Jordan Love last year. Right. And it's of the mindset of, like, we got so many other needs. Even if you're going to stick with offense, all right, fine. Can you draft me a wide receiver? Can you draft me a top-notch running back? If we're going to go offense, you're wasting a first-round draft pick on who some could have argued that Jordan Love would have been there definitely during the second round, if not the third round, with that. So he's looking at the incompetence of the organization as a whole, with Green Bay not truly having an owner as more so as a board of directors and technically the community owns. He don't really have that Jerry Jones or anybody like that could go to and be like, hey man, look, man, what's going on here? You got a president, but the president is voted on by the people who are shareholders of Green Bay. So you don't really have really that one focal person you could point at and be like, yo, what the F is going on over here? So I think you got all of that going on. He's like, man, look, I'm tired, boss. Like, you saw what I did. Like you're drafting my replacement, dude. I'm still putting up MVP years. I was the MVP this past season. What are you doing? But you could argue that they did the same thing with him with Brett Favre, where we're going to draft our successor. That's typically how Green Bay does since I've been watching football, which is late 80s, early 90s, where they kind of always had their successor already on the bench or whatnot, and they would historically use high draft picks to go ahead and get their replacement, even though they're going to sit for the next 2 or 3 years, which I think is the plan for Jordan Love. But that don't mean that you have to like it. I remember when Brett Favre was saying, look, when all this was going on, he was like, dude, I'm not here to mentor anybody. I still got a lot left. And he did. I mean, he was okay with the Jets. But when he went to the Vikings, I mean, they got to the NFC Championship game before he threw that horrible interception. Could have got to another Super Bowl with that. So we know what you're doing. That don't mean I have to like it. I may not even understand it wholeheartedly, but I think that deal with Jordan Love, man, that's the straw that broke the camel's back. And it's kind of like, well, where do we go at from here? What are the plans for the future? Because if you're drafting replacements in the first round, what are we doing here? I'm ready now. He's tired, boss.
Corey.
Yeah.
Man, let's just call it what it is, man. They have been disrespecting the fuck out of Aaron Rodgers for the past few years. Corey, you can't. And right now, at this point, right now, today, I can't even give you one of the receivers' names that they have.
Mm-mm.
I can't even tell you one of the receivers' names that they have. Not to say that they stink, but
yeah,
this is Aaron Rodgers we talking about. Yo, I can give you a few quarterbacks' names, and I can tell you who their receivers are because especially of the caliber of Aaron Rodgers. You're supposed to have some receivers with some names. You know why? Because
the only one I could give you is Devontae Adams. That's it. But I can't name a second one. That's it.
Oh, and look, and that's to be fair, because Devontae be kicking ass. Let's not sleep. You know what I mean?
But that's it though.
But
you can double him.
And what you got?
Who's your number 2?
Who's your tight end, Corey? Who's your tight end? Do you know how many good tight ends have been on the market, and I haven't heard shit about Green Bay trying to even put their hands on one, let alone receivers. Hello, when Odell Beckham was out there, I never heard Green Bay making a run at him. Correct me if I'm wrong. I never heard Green Bay throwing their name in that Odell hat. I never did.
You're right.
And I was thinking like, damn, Odell would be crazy out there with Aaron Rodgers, boy.
What?
Are you shitting me right now? What? Imagine that.
Him and Aaron Rodgers would be almost unfair. They would need for the commissioner to break that up because that's how unfair it'll be.
I mean, you talking about Devontae, and then you got Odell on the other end, man. I mean, I never heard nobody throwing their name. Like, I'm not gonna say nobody, but I'm specifically speaking on Green Bay. I never heard nobody from the Green Bay camp saying, "Oh, we might be trying to make a run at him. Let's see how much we can get him for." I still never heard that. You know what I mean? And then Corey,
and that's the frustration.
And that's the frustration with Aaron. That's what the frustration,
right? You're not even trying.
You're not even trying. You're not even like this.
Either that, they're either real good at keeping things closed and tight-lipped, or they're not trying. But that's part of the game is leaks. That's part of the game is leaking. Like, oh, we're thinking about getting this guy. They're not even leaking.
They're not even leaking anything. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like, and this is what to speak to your point. And I want to disagree with you on the point from an Aaron Rodgers standpoint about how you said that they have no focal point or nobody to blame. I want to read an article right here, Corey. From
let's go for it.
This was an article by Jack Brown, who works for Getty Image Sports, and I want to read this. He said, the Green Bay Packers may be forced to decide between Aaron Rodgers and general manager Brian, and I don't know how to pronounce his last name, so I'm gonna mess it up. It said Gutekunst. That's how we'll just call him. We'll just call him Mr. Brian. We'll just call him Mr. G for now. Mr. G. You know what I mean?
Ain't nothing but a G thing.
Ain't nothing but a G thing. So, and he's obviously the general manager. So it says Rodgers is adamant he won't return to the team under the stewardship of Mr. G. A source close to the quarterback told Yahoo Sports, Charles Robinson. The reigning MVP is reportedly willing to consider no showing off-season workouts and training camp and even potentially retirement. Rodgers could be fined up to $50,000 for every day he holds out of camp. If he retires, he will have to repay the team $11.5 million this year and $11.5 million in 2022. NFL Network Ian Rappaport reports.
God almighty, no.
Corey.
Oh boy.
Let me tell you something, man. Let me tell you something. Aaron Rodgers said that there's a focal point. And let me tell you something, Corey. I'm going to believe that there's a focal point. I'm going to believe there is. And I'm going to say, if Aaron Rodgers said it's Mr. G, it's Mr. G. Because keep in mind,
it is Mr. G then, okay?
Keep in mind, everybody has been saying from day one that him and the coach had the new head coach has had a problem. Corey, correct me if I'm wrong, but that article didn't say anything about the head coach being the problem. It said
no, I didn't hear that.
It said Mr. G was the problem. Thing. Do you understand what I'm saying?
G thing's the issue then. Okay. All
Corey, right. And I want to bring that point up only to say that, only basically to further our point of them not even trying.
Yeah.
If Mr. G, the general manager, is the problem, I'm inclined to believe Aaron Rodgers, because keep in mind he's has stuck it out through some times here during Green Bay, and keep in mind he hasn't been really tight-lipped about situations. But this is the first time he's came out and made a focal point reference, Corey, and said, "Hey, it's this guy. It's this guy while we borderline or just making it. It's this guy while we sticking up in the draft. It's this guy while we're sticking up when big name players are hitting the trade market, and this guy over here, and while we are a big name trade destination." Because Corey, I'm gonna be honest with you, you make a good point. When these guys are hitting the market, I haven't really seen guys saying, "Yo, put me in Green Bay." And Corey, I'm going to say it's not, in my belief, it can't be because it's Aaron Rodgers. It's got to be something behind the scenes that we don't know. Maybe it started with Mr. G. I don't know. But let me tell you something. I'm going to believe what Aaron Rodgers says, man. I am. And if it's because he's willing to risk retirement, Corey. He's willing to say,
that's crazy.
Yo, you know what? Here's your $22 million. I'm out.
Take that. I got this Jeopardy money. I'm good over here.
It's nothing. It's nothing. You know what I mean?
He hosted Jeopardy games.
Bro, he's willing to give you what y'all gave him and say, you know what? I have a chip. So my legacy is solidified. See what y'all do. See what y'all do with Mr. Jordan back there. You think Green Bay is a trade destination now? Put that quarterback in. Put the backup in. Let's see what happens.
And we've seen that story before, and it doesn't end well. And at one point, I want to piggyback off of what you're speaking of. You got to understand Green Bay is Green Bay, so naturally, from a geographic standpoint, it's not going to pull. But you could argue that how many players, like an Odell Beckham, he's a great example that you brought up. would say, you know what? Yeah, it may get 20 degrees down here, hell, even 0 degrees, but I want to play with that guy because this guy gives me a chance to win a ship. And in the NFL, to me, it, you got you got to go get it and go get it now. Like you don't really have the luxury in the NFL just due to the nature of the sport to be like, oh, well, we're gonna waste a first round draft pick unless it's like a Andrew Luck. I would even give you a Trevor Lawrence who just got picked #1. You know, there are some guys quarterback wise I'm really only speaking of in the draft where it's like, you know what, we need to go ahead and grab him and have him on our roster so nobody else will get him. Andrew Luck comes to mind. Trevor Lawrence comes to mind. Jordan Love didn't really seem like that guy to me, where you would draft and just be like in the first round and get that. So the point I'm getting at is that you seeing what's happening with Tampa Bay, with Tom Brady, with them. Granted, it's Florida and that's a better destination than Green Bay, Wisconsin. I'll give you that. But my counteract is that you got a lot of these guys, they're either taking a franchise tag like Chris Godwin did, or they're taking pay cuts to play with Tom Brady. To me, Aaron Rodgers on a one-on-one is better than Tom Brady from a mechanical standpoint, to his ability to escape the pocket and to the abilities to be able to flick of the wrist 60 yards. Tom Brady can't do that, right? But he's smart. Tom Brady is smart. That's where he excels at. To me, Aaron Rodgers, he excels not only at being smart, but he has those intangibles from a physical standpoint that he could still, you're never out of a game when Aaron Rodgers is your quarterback. So to think that there are some players that won't take a pay cut to go play with him, one has to ask, well, why isn't that happening? And it's like, well, management and GM, they're not reaching out. Like that would have to frustrate me. And after a while, when you're with any company in any type of 9 to 5, whether it's a job, whether it's a personal relationship, whether it's a marriage, whether it's whatever, it's like, where do I see this going in the next couple of years, right? Just direction. I want to see what direction you're going in. And if you can't really see it other than just standing back and being cool with doing what we're doing, and if you're not satisfied with that, man, you got moves to make, you know, period. So I get Aaron Rodgers' frustration. There's no reason why he shouldn't have at least 2 Super Bowls.
And
it's not.
And that's a fact. And some will argue, the GM can't get out there and play, and Aaron Rodgers himself, might have cost them a couple of those championships. I would definitely disagree with the fact that Aaron Rodgers cost them anything, because he's been nothing but fantastic, Mr. Fucking Clutch every fucking time that his name has been.
You wouldn't be there if it wasn't for Aaron Rodgers. You wouldn't even be there.
No, you wouldn't be there. No, you wouldn't be there. So, and I want to, and one last thing for me, I definitely want to piggyback off something that you said, man. It baffles me that with as much juice that Aaron Rodgers still has left, that they haven't surrounded him with a damn thing in this draft. And then you take a quarterback in the first round of that draft when you have somebody with as much juice as Aaron Rodgers. Yeah, man, his time is up. He's the fuck up out of there. And they've been on record within these past couple of days, Corey, saying, yo, we're not letting him go anywhere. Corey, I want to read off his trade destinations real quick. He reportedly is eyeing, which I know makes you very happy, the 49ers, the Broncos, the Raiders. Top 3 trade destinations for him. Corey, let me tell you something, man. Them going on record and saying that Aaron Rodgers isn't going anywhere speak basically to the level of just disrespect still that they are sitting here and still showing this man. And it still speaks to what he's saying. He said, y'all shouldn't be on record saying that I'm not going anywhere. Y'all should be on record trying to find somebody for us to be making a play with right here for the brain here to satisfy me. Don't be on record saying, yo, he's not going nowhere, because, yo, I will go somewhere. I can go to fuck home. That's where I can go. I will go to fuck home. That's where I can go. If you think I can't,
that's where I can go.
I will give you back this 20.
I got that Jeopardy money. I'm good.
Absolutely. If you think for 1 second Aaron Rodgers won't pull a Gronk where he will retire and then come back and put his name back on the market after a day.
Yep.
But hey,
because he can do that.
He can do that. He can do that. His name is solidified here. We're gonna see how this plays out. I'm very interested to see, man, how this goes because, man, this is huge right here. This is it, man.
It's super huge.
Fuck the draft. I didn't even watch the draft. I didn't want to talk about the draft. This Aaron Rodgers thing shook up everything. Huge. I promise you, man. I promise you, man. But yeah, man, we're gonna switch sports real quick. Let's switch sports and jump into some NBA talk real quick, Corey. You know what I mean? Yo, with man, let me just say, man, with this play-in situation, Corey.
Dude, what? What?
Every day,
got a little bit of March Madness behind it, don't it?
Ooh, Corey, let me tell you, man. I at first, we old school. We set in our ways. I didn't know really exactly how this was going to go. But then the more and more that I keep, the more I kept hearing about it, and then the more I keep hearing about it, and the more and more it's playing out of my head, and again, it's giving me that March Madness feel. Corey, let me tell you, man, I am fucking excited, and let me tell you why. I want to talk about who your scariest teams to face in the first round of this NBA style tournament. Or I want you to give me. I want you to give me your scariest team that in this playoff style tournament. Who is your scariest team to face in this first round, man? That's coming up, man. Give it to me, man.
I'm gonna go Western Conference and I'm gonna go Eastern Conference, and I'm using the standings as of now. This recording is of May the 2nd, around 3:30 p.m., which is obviously subject to change, being that we got. A good 10 more games, give or take, with whatever team you're talking about. So as it stands right now, my Lakers are not in the play-in, but we are staring that mother father dead in the mouth right now. But that ain't where we at right now. That's not where we at. It's May the 2nd. As of right now, we are riding the pine at 6 for all my Laker heads out there. Man, Portland is number 7, and they were scared the living hell out of me right now. In the West. So right now you got in the West, you got Portland, Memphis, Golden State, and San Antonio.
Those are the top 4
but teams? Those are the top teams 7, 8, 9, and 10 respectively in the West. Yep. Portland, Memphis, Golden State, and the Spurs. Portland is number 7, who could really easily take the Lakers spot, but we're not going to talk about that right now. As it stands today, Portland was scared the hell out of me. In the East, we got Miami, Charlotte, the Pacers, and the Wizards. In the East, man, I got to roll with Washington, would be that team that I would not want to play in the play-in tournament, simply because you got the Energizer Bunny, the guy who never gets old, known as Russell Westbrook, and you got Frank Bill down there. Bradley Bill, excuse me. And man, that this whole scenario of the play-in is, I think, as a fan, just strictly as an NBA fan, man, I love it. Like, I do love it. But I'm telling you, you don't want your teams there. You don't want your teams there. Let me reiterate real quick of how this typically works, respectively, in each conference. Your 7 and 8 is going to go at it. If you're the number 7 seed, all you got to do is win one time. You keep your spot. If you're the 8 team and you lose, then you get to play the winner of the 9 and 10. And the same thing goes for 9 and 10. That 9, all they got to do is win, and they'll play the 8th seed, and then that'll be the final seeding for the 8. And I know it's a little complicated, but that's basically how it works. So basically, if you're the top seed of your 7, in that 7 and 8 matchup, all you got to do is win once. If you're that 8 team, you got to win twice. So see, that whole deal of all you got to do is lose one time and you're done. That's the scary part of it. That is the scary part of it. Now, the good news is, if you're in that 7 and 8, if you lose, you still get to play that 9 and 10, and you still just have to win once. So it's almost like you get to do a do-over. But the whole mere fact of the matter is that one loss can technically put any of these teams out, respectively, if you're in that 8th spot or if you're in that 9th and 10th spot, or whatnot. So it is scary, but from a fan standpoint, it is fun. But I'm telling you, I would not want to see Portland right now. I would not want to see Portland, and I would not want to see Washington in the East. I wouldn't.
And okay,
man,
let me ask you something. Right now, with the Lakers sitting in 6th place, would we not make the playoffs?
I, 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 I,
Or would we have to play?
We will make.
Would make the
No,
playoffs?
okay. We would make the playoffs. We wouldn't have to deal with any of the playing tournament if we're at 6. Right. But now, when we move down to 7, or I ain't gonna say when, God forbid if we move down to 7, that's a whole different ballgame. Now let's just say hypothetically, hypotheticals here, just for the next 30 seconds. Now let's just say if the Lakers fall to number 7 and Portland flip flops and they get to number 6, so then we would be going against the Grizzlies just in this hypothetical scenario. Well, during that 7 and 8, we're number 7. We being the Lakers are number 7. Grizzlies are number 8. We would just have to beat Memphis one time to keep our number 7 spot. Now the Grizzlies, they would have to beat us twice in order to upseed us. And then what would happen is, let's just say if we lose against Memphis, well, then now we would have to play the winner of Golden State and San Antonio. But being that we lost into that 7 and 8, and now we're down to the 9th and 10th, we would still just have to beat either Golden State or San Antonio once. For them to take our spot, they would have to beat us twice or whatnot. So we're still, you just don't want to mess with it. Just to the casual fans out there, you just don't want to be in it. It's a mess. You don't want that.
You know, man, I like this. I like this because, man, it's almost its own championship within itself, Corey. If you really think about it, man, it's almost like its own thing within itself. And as a video game guy, I can't wait to see what 2K does with this next year. You know what I mean? But that's a whole other, conversation, whole other podcast, man. But yo, let me get to my teams, man. That I would not want to see first round. My scariest teams. Let me start with the East. I gotta agree with you. My pick is the Wizards, man. Niggas don't want to see them Wizards coming out that East, boy. Niggas don't want to see that. I promise you, they do not want to see that.
They kicked our ass the other night, by the way. Yeah.
Man, listen, them boys, bro, them boys mean over there, and they hungry. You know what I mean? Again, you talked about Russell Westbrook. I love Russell Westbrook. You talking about Bradley Beal. You know what I mean? Them boys come to play. And let me tell you something. Yes. They put it all on the line every single night, man.
Every night
they put it all on the line. You know what I mean? Every single night. Not to mention their role players that they have over there too that know their roles. I love that, man. You know what I mean? And when you got a team as hungry as them, and when it's playoff time, man, let me tell you something, man. You know, like I know, when that ball slow down and that clock slow down, it's a different ball game, man. It's a different ball game. And not to mention the experience of Russell Westbrook that he has within situations such as the playoffs and clutch moments too. You know what I mean? We know how we know how Russ can crank it up, and we know how Bradley Beal shooter can get. We know about that, man. You know what I mean? That boys
catch fire quick.
Bro, they catch fire quick. I would not want to see them in the first round. I promise you. Swinging it over to the West, Corey, I'm gonna be honest with you, man.
Yeah.
Yo, the team I would not want to see first round in a playoff type in the playoff. No, let me say it right. In a play-in situation, I don't think people want it with our Lakers if it comes down to it. No, I'm gonna be Corey. Yeah. We talking about talking about a healthy Lakers team and a play-in situation, a healthy LeBron and a healthy AD mixed with what we got going on over there with Schroeder, mixed with our bench now. Our bench. Yeah. Man, listen, man. You don't want to see us with Andre Drummond in that play-in situation. I don't think you do. Not first round. Nope. No, sir. No, sir.
That'll be tough. That would be tough, man.
It's gonna
be
tough,
LeBron,
boy.
He came back this past Friday against Sacramento.
The Kings,
I mean, and granted, we lost by 4 points, but I wish we could have won that game, but I was more so wrapped up into how LeBron was playing. And you're talking about this is the first game with him and Davis and Drummond. And the synergy that him, LeBron and Andre Drummond had was good almost off gate. Like it took maybe about a quarter. The next thing you know, they started throwing each other lobs and stuff like that, man. Yeah. Oh, man, I love that. That's just something to look forward to. Granted, we still need to pick up some wins on these games. Yeah. But I still think, and I use the word think, I think we'll be fine. No, you don't want to see us in the playoffs, man. I mean, the play-in tournament, but playoffs either, but let alone the play-in.
Yeah, man. Yeah, that was my picks, man. So, yeah, we're gonna see what happens, man, with our Lakers, and hopefully we don't have to be in a play-in situation. You know what I mean?
I want to say it starts like May the 15th. May the
Yeah,
15th or the 16th is when the play-in tournament starts.
Yeah,
It's gonna be on.
It's very soon. That's why I want to talk about it, man. You know, I want to go ahead and get our picks out of the way about who our scariest teams were, and let's just see what happens. In these certain situations. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, I want to keep it on basketball, though, man. I want to keep it on basketball, and this is. Man, with this topic right here, Corey, this is one of my this was a personal topic for me, right? You know what I mean? This is a personal topic for me, Corey, that I want to get into.
Yeah.
It'd be a lot of when it comes to point guards. I hear a lot of talks when it comes to point guards, pertaining to, of course, being the best, and pertaining, and of course, when people speak, they're speaking from basically a microwave society standpoint of right now, who's popping right now, who's fresh in your mind right now, and I get that, you know what I mean? And a lot of people, their first thoughts are Kyrie. Their first thoughts are, Kemba Walker, Damian Lillard, and even sometimes people throw LeBron in there as a point guard sometimes too, and they say LeBron, and people even say KD too, when they speak on point guards, and of course James Harden and players of that nature, and I get that, and I think some people speak from a seniority standpoint, meaning that how long players have been in the league, and things of that nature when they speak on their favorite or best point guards,
Yeah.
Corey, I'm gonna tell you something that upsets me. I have these talks with, a lot of people, my friends, and, just watching a lot of, sports talks and sports podcasts. I'm gonna tell you something that's really upsetting me, man. And I'm here to talk about it. A lot of these people are leaving out Luka Doncic. Corey.
Yeah.
I'm here to put some respect on Luka's name.
You gonna put some respect on his name? Go ahead, drop some
respect on it. I'm here to put some respect on Luka Doncic's name. Yo, when you talking about best point guards in this league, if you're not mentioning Luka, I need people to shut the fuck up right now. That's what I'm here to talk about, Corey. If you're not mentioning Mr. Doncic, however you mention his however you say your last name, Mr. Luka, over there down there in Dallas, I need people to shut up and put some respect on Luka's name when you mention the best point guards in this league. Corey, the boy too fire. Why people ain't mentioning my nigga Luka? Corey, let me read out some
I got some conspiracy theories when you're done.
Okay, and I'll let you have the flow when I'm done. Corey, I want to read off, man. I want to read off something here, man. Corey, I don't know if you caught the game against the Golden State Warriors the other night, the Mavs against Golden State. I don't know if you caught it, man.
I caught that.
But I want to read off some stats. Luka Doncic, Mr. Luka, 39 points, 6 rebounds, 8 assists, 2 steals. Corey, I also want to read off something else real quick. I want to read off Mr. Luka's stats for 2021. Yeah. Corey, he's averaging 28.6 points per game. He's averaging 8.9 assists PPG per game. Pardon me, not PPG, but PG. Per game. 8.9 assists per game. Corey, here's the most impressive stat for me, though. 8 rebounds per game. Corey.
As a point guard.
As basically. A point guard. 8 rebounds, 8 games. I want to put some respect on Luka's name out here today, boy. Do you hear what I'm telling you? I want to put some respect on Luka's name. 8 rebounds.
Can I throw out a real quick stat?
Go ahead. Have at it.
I want to add one more stat. Against Washington last night, 20 assists. I just figure you want to have that one in your arsenal against Washington. 20 assists.
Corey,
yesterday.
I was getting to that. I had some more I was gonna get.
My bad.
But thank you for bringing that up last night. 20 assists against Washington. The boy too cold to have been brought up in a whole lot of conversations when it comes to best point guards in the league right now. Look, Corey, I'm tired of hearing.
You're right.
But I'm tired of hearing the generic bullshit. I'm tired of hearing Kyrie. I'm tired of hearing Durant. I'm tired of hearing Harden. Listen. If you're not bringing up Luka in the first 3, shut the fuck up for me. Respectfully.
Yeah.
Shut the fuck up for me. Because, boy, let me tell you something. This nigga averaging 8 rebounds a game. I ain't even spoke to the almost 29 that he's dropping a game. I ain't even spoke to that. And I won't speak to that. You know why? Because if you know Luka, you know Luka. He's been cooking out here.
Yeah.
He's been cooking out here.
He's been heavy in these streets.
I ain't even gonna talk about how heavy in these streets he is when it comes to clutch time. I ain't even gonna talk about how it looked like Kobe just come down and just sprinkle a little bit of Kobe on him in the clutch every time when it comes to clutch time. I ain't even gonna talk about that. You know why? Because I'm here to talk about these 8 rebounds per game. Corey, are you telling me these? Let me tell you something. Matter of fact, hold on.
That's crazy.
I want to be correct real quick right here. I want to be correct when I'm speaking on because I'm putting respect on Luka out here. So I want to come up my facts. Hold on real quick. Let me because I got a point to pick right here. Corey, you mean to tell me? And let me tell you something. They say he's listed at 6'7", Corey. They say he's 6'7", 230. We know how that go. He don't look 6'7". To me, he about 6'4". You know what I mean? To me, he could be 6'7". Let's just say he is. Corey.
Yo. Hold on, you muted, bro.
I have no clue what just happened. I see it still recording. I have no clue. It's like it just stopped. I don't know what I have no clue. I have no clue.
Look, the Zoom is trying to disrespect Luka Doncic as well.
God, man. So let me get back to Luka, man. So you mean to tell me, Corey, that all these 7-foot boys ain't blocking Luka out to the point he averaging 8 rebounds a game as a point guard? How? You know
point guard, dog.
Let's talk about that number real quick, though. 8 rebounds a game, right? That's averaging. So somebody he has 10.
Average.
Somebody he gets 12. Right. Somebody he get 15.
Yep.
Somebody he get 5. Corey, that is crazy to think that a point guard is averaging 8 rebounds per game in this 7-foot world. What is going on?
Yeah.
Yo, and then on top of that, Corey, let's get into the scoring. He dropping people off. He averaging 28 per game. You know what that means? Sometimes he dropping 40. Sometimes he dropping 80, 60. Sometimes he dropping 20. He dropping almost 30 a game as a point guard, Corey. Yo, I need people to put respect on Luka Doncic's name, please.
Big V, there's only a few explanations, and none of them are logical. None of them are really even good. But I'm gonna be the one to say it. I think for one, he's from Slovenia.
Okay.
The NBA and its relationship with foreign players are good, not great. And for whatever reason, we are hesitant to put foreign players at the top of almost any NBA category, let alone the face of it. I'm gonna backtrack about maybe 2 or 3 years ago when Giannis won the 2 MVPs back to back, and there was a little discussion going on saying, can he be the face of the league? Like, can he overthrow a LeBron James and Steph Curry, et cetera, et cetera? And most was like, yeah, but it'll be tough. And most people was like, nah, because English is secondary language, things of that nature, right? Now that's Giannis. So you got a mixed bag already on Giannis. Now, can I really say it? I'm going to say it. I'm going to say it, and I'm going to probably catch flack, but I'm going to really tell the truth. It's because he's a white boy. He's a white boy, a foreign white boy at that, going crazy. And the hesitancy of really anybody, even the white counterparts, to say that he's not one of the coldest point guards out here is really insane. Because the boy's young. The guy's only 22 years old. Guy's 6'7". The numbers that he puts up are, like you said, are just mind blowing. And the fact of it is that Porzingis is normally there half the time. The other half the time he's not, and it's pretty much the Luka Doncic. So the same scenario that I used earlier a week or so ago with Steph Curry, with him not having Klay Thompson there, is pretty applicable towards Luka. Whereas it's like, well, we got to double this guy. Well, you could double him. It really doesn't matter. He's still going to do work regardless of who's on the court with him. Porzingis being there just makes him that much more better. Yeah. So I think the hesitancy is because he's a white guy and he's a foreign guy. You will never hear a conversation of him being face of the league, and that's sad. It's really sad because I'm of the mindset it should always be about the best player, and Luka Doncic is one of the best players. He is definitely by far one of your top 10. You could borderline argue top 5 NBA players. I would put him in my top 5, not in any specific order. But let me tell you something. The only other thing that I got, even though Dallas is not technically West, they do play a lot of like Western time zones. So it's that whole East Coast bias again, where you're not really going to see them until like 10:30, tip off times and things of that nature. But if he was black, and if he was from the United States of America, he would be getting mentioned just as often as Kyrie Irving. Because to me, his numbers are just as good as a Kyrie Irving. He's just that guy. He makes shots. He can shoot threes. He gets, like you said, rebounds. I mean, we praise Russell Westbrook and his triple doubles for the mere fact that he can average 10 rebounds in a game. We praise Russell Westbrook for the fact that he gets damn near 10 assists a game. Well, Luka Doncic is doing the same thing, and he's a better shooter than Russell Westbrook, and he also puts up more points per game than Russell Westbrook. Much as I love Russell, and I'm not saying he's bad, but he's not really a shooter. He's a scorer. He's still king at attacking the basket, kind of similar to a Ben Simmons in that regards of attacking the basket. But you're talking about a cold-ass perimeter game, especially from the three, Luka Doncic is your guy. Period. And you're right. He should be mentioned. I'm glad we're doing this today. He should be mentioned. And the fact that he's not are things that I've alluded to is the only thing that I could think of. And it really is. It really is. It's an NBA bias that we have.
I like that you said that. I hadn't even thought about that, Corey. We definitely gonna have to make that a podcast topic, man, and speak on that, because I like your outlook on why he may never be the face of the league. I like that, and I think we definitely have an in-depth conversation about that. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to read off some stats from Luka Doncic. How you say his last name, Corey?
I want to say Doncic.
Doncic.
Yep.
I want to read off some stats from Mr. D. Pause, if you will.
Yeah.
I want to start with from April 14th, and I want to go up to May 1st. Corey, April 14th against Memphis, he had 29 points, 5 rebounds, 9 assists. The next game against the Knicks, he had 22 points, 8 rebounds, 19 assists. Next game against the Sacramento Kings, he's had 37 points, 8 rebounds, 4 assists. Next game against the Pistons, 30 points, 10 rebounds, 9 assists. Against the Lakers, he had 30 points, 9 rebounds, 8 assists. Against the Lakers again, he had the next time he played the Lakers, he had 18 points, 8 rebounds, 13 assists. Sacramento, he had 24 points, 8 rebounds, 8 assists. Corey against Washington, 31 points, 12 rebounds, and 20 assists. Corey, if that's not NBA caliber, I have no clue what is going on, Corey.
I think it's Zoom not liking Luka, man. That's what it is.
Man, listen, people, man. Let me make sure it's recording. All right.
Yeah, see the recording light on.
People, Zoom keeps clicking out in and out on us because we discussing Luka. We think
that's what it is.
We think Zoom is hating on Luka. You know what I mean? Right when I'm reading the stats that Luka was cooking, Zoom wants to act crazy. You know what I mean? But hey, you know what I mean? It's technology, baby. But getting back to Luka, man. Listen, if people not having him listed to me in their top three, and I even say 5 point guards in this league, man, something is wrong. The boy is cooking. He is crazy with it. Put some respect on Luka's name out here.
Do it.
You know what I mean?
Do it.
And you know what, man? Speaking of putting respect on people's name, you know, I want to get into who your most slept on player is in the league, Corey. And I want to go first.
Go for it. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because I've been watching a lot of basketball, man, and you know, this one guy I want to speak on, man, just keeps catching my eye every time it hits the court, Corey. And maybe he's catching your eye too. You know what I mean?
Okay.
And I'm here to tell you, man, my slept on player in the league right now.
Yeah.
Is Miles Bridges. I'm here to talk about it,
man. That's a good one. That's a great one, actually.
Man.
Hold on. Let me hit you with the golf clap on that one. That's a good one. That's a good one. That's a real good one.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you ain't tapped into Miles Bridges, I'm here to tell you, you need to be watching the Charlotte Hornets, man. You need to be checking the Hornets out down there in Buzz City. City. Man, let me tell you, Miles Bridges is making some noise, and I get it. You know, the hype has been about LaMelo Ball and the fantastic job he's doing down there because he's down there cooking down there.
He came back this weekend.
Absolutely,
by the way.
So, I seen that. I seen that, man, and salute to him and everything he's doing down here in North Carolina. We appreciate your services, Mr. Ball, Mr. Young Man.
No question.
But man, let me tell you, man, people need to take a look at Mr. Miles Bridges down there. Corey,
you're right.
Man, that boy, that young man, he down there putting in real work. Do you hear what I'm telling you? He's down there, he's doing the real dirty work. He's down there getting the boards. He's down there catching the lobs. He's down there being clutch. Man, Corey, I want to read off something to you real quick, Corey.
Yeah.
I want to read off some stats from Mr. Bridges. First of all, people don't know who he is. He's a young man. He went to Michigan State. He was drafted, I want to say 2018. I think he was originally drafted by the Clippers.
Yeah.
And I don't know how he ended up down there in Charlotte, but man, let me tell you something, man. I like it. Corey, the young man is averaging 12 points per game, 2 assists per game, and 6 rebounds. You know what I mean? Man, let me tell you. He has been cooking. I want to read off some stats from him from the last couple games, starting with April 20th, 420. 420 against the Knicks, he has 15 points, 14 rebounds, 3 assists. Chicago, 13 points, 5 rebounds, 3 assists. Against Cleveland, 25 points, 10 rebounds, 2 assists. Boston, 20 points, 6 rebounds, 3 assists. Milwaukee, 21 points, 10 rebounds, 6 assists. Boston, 19 points, 4 rebounds, 4 assists. And again, May 1st against the Pistons, 27 points, 7 rebounds, 4 assists. Corey, the young man is 6'6". He listed at 6'6", 225. Let me tell you something, man. The boy played like he's 6'10". The boy played like he's 6'10". Corey, when I found out he was only 6'6", I said, you gotta be shitting me. He down there playing like he down there 6'11" or something, Corey. And I want to speak to not only those stats, but let me tell you why those stats are relevant. He has been doing this alongside Scary Terry and the boys. Because let me stop right there. Because people need to put some respect on Terry Rozier's name too.
Agreed.
Oh my God,
dude!
Ain't Terry been cooking? Terry been cooking, boy.
Oh my God!
What? Oh my God! But that's another conversation. I want to keep it on Miles Bridges right now and when the work he's been doing out there in Buzz City. And let me tell you why those stats are important, ladies and gentlemen. Most of those stats have been without LaMelo Ball. Let's put that out there. And they have been winning some games.
Yes, they have.
These aren't. Let me tell you, all these stats aren't in losing efforts, people.
Yeah.
Most of these have been in winning efforts. And let me tell you, I think you mentioned Charlotte as one of the teams that might be in the play-in tournament.
Yeah.
People don't want to see Buzz City with a healthy Charlotte roster because let me tell you people something. If you ain't been paying attention to Charlotte, they've had a lot of injury problems this year, and they have been sustaining, this level to the point where people better put some respect on Buzz City name, and you better not want to see them in the first round of that play-in tournament, especially with a healthy LaMelo Ball, especially with
they're currently number 8 right now.
Oh my goodness, that's a scary 8. That's a scary 8. And I want to put some respect on that 8. That ain't a slight 8. That's a scary 8 in this.
That's a stink 8. Yes, sir.
Oh my God. That's an upset 8. Meaning, you might come down here and play Buzz City and get your feelings hurt. They might send your ass home packing. Cause boy, let me tell you, man, LaMelo cooking by himself. But boy, when you add on a healthy Scary Terry and you add on this young man by the name of Miles Bridges, Corey, oh my God. Oh.
And let's not forget, they still got Gordon Hayward down there.
Bro, that's what
a
healthy Buzz City, Corey, is a scary 8. I promise you that. But man, let me put. I just want to tell people, man,
Miles, you're right. That's a real good one.
Miles Bridges has been down there in Buzz City, Charlotte, North Carolina, doing real fucking basketball work. If you ever get a chance, ladies and gentlemen, please check him out. Miles Bridges, Buzz City, baby. He's my most slept on player in the league today.
And let me tell you real quick, because obviously we're from North Carolina. I mean, if you live in North Carolina, I mean, a lot of times if you got your traditional cable or satellite provider, you don't need League Pass to see Charlotte.
No,
man, let me tell you something about Charlotte real quick. These guys are a treat to watch. They are young. They are energetic. I mean, if you blink, you don't miss the play that they've made. I mean, and let me tell you something, man. It's funny because if you ever want to know something from a casual fan, you can either ask my mother or my wife, and I'm going to use my wife in this specific instance. We turned on the Charlotte game when she's a Boston Celtics fan. Yeah, I know. But played Charlotte, and one of the first things she said when we turned on to the sportscast, she was like, I wonder who Miles Bridges is going to dunk on tonight.
Oh!
That's her first words. Who is Miles Bridges going to posterize tonight, honey? And I said, I don't know. But I said, here's what I said, though. If you see that mother father coming down the middle of the paint, do yourself and your life and your wife and your kids a favor. Move out the way. Because he ain't stopping. That Charlotte team is, as a whole, is great, but you're right. Bridges, that he gave the Lakers a hard time when we played them earlier, about a week and a half ago. He's a scary individual. He really is. Charlotte got something going on. They got something good going on down there, man. So if you have not watched Charlotte play, again, especially if you're in the North Carolina area, a lot of times you can see them free on your cable or satellite provider.
Yep.
Treat yourself. They don't come on late. They typically tip off either at 7 or 7:30 for the most part.
Yep.
Man, watch them. They're good.
I'm
They're good.
I'm trying.
Charlotte.
I'm trying to. Let me tell you something. I'm trying to get. If they make it to the play-in core, I'm trying to get tickets.
I hear you. I ain't mad at you. I'm not mad at you on that. That's gonna be a treat, man. That's gonna be a treat. So it seems like it's my turn.
Who's your scariest player, man? No, I'm sorry. Who's your slept-on player, Corey? Who's your most slept-on player in the league, man? Give it to me. I know you got somebody crazy.
Actually, I don't think it's crazy, but I think I'm gonna get a couple of eye rolls at this.
Okay.
We're gonna keep it in the North Carolina realm. This gentleman went to Wake Forest.
Okay.
From the Winston-Salem area. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to bring your attention to CP3, better known as Chris Paul.
Let's talk about it.
And the reason why I say he's not really a good or a bad pick for this specific segment is that anytime that someone says, oh, he should be brought up in the MVP conversation, you get some eye rolls with that. And I think what most people are saying is that he probably shouldn't necessarily be the MVP, but he should just be at least talked about in the conversation. And I do agree with that. But the fact of what he's doing, let me make sure I get my lie straight here. At the age of 35 years old, actually about to be 36 in a couple of days. His birthday is on March 6, 1985. Point guard. The guy's only 6 foot.
You mean was he
6
born
foot, ladies and gentlemen.
May 6? Was it May 6 or March 6? May 6.
He's born May 6.
Okay.
May 6.
Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, he is only 6 foot. Now, by NBA standards, that is short. Now I'm 5'9". I would never even be able to sniff even getting on the NBA court, ladies and gentlemen. And what I would also like to say is we need to keep in mind, let me read off some season stats as it yields to date. A 35-year-old point guard, 16 points a game, 4.6 rebounds a game, 8 assists per game. Now look, man, guy's 35, about to be 36. You can argue that at that age, you're washed up. That's not the case for Mr. CP3. That is nowhere near the case for that at all. I would like to read off a couple of stats, as we like to do on the show. And I would like to bring your attention to the last 5 games, which has been provided to us by NBA.com. Love these guys.
Okay.
Against Utah, 12 points. Okay. All right. That's fine. What's the big deal? 9 assists against Utah. Now, granted, they don't have Donovan Mitchell, but you could argue Utah is still Utah. Okay. All right. Yeah. That's fine. Let's bring up then the Clippers that they played on April the 28th. Points. 28 points. All right. Cool. All right. 10 assists is what he put up against the Clippers. All right. Let's go ahead and let's see here. We got him going against Brooklyn. Just a mediocre 14, 15 points, 8 assists, yada, yada, yada. You can also argue against Boston. Oh, whoa, wait a minute. What do we got here? Oh, 22 points. And another 8 rebounds. How does a guy 6 feet get 8 rebounds? Okay, you know what? Wait a minute. Out of those rebounds, 8 of them was defensive rebounds, not offensive rebounds. But wait, he's only 6 foot. How does that happen? And he still managed to carve out 8 assists. So this shows me a couple of things, y'all. This shows me that he is just as sharp as he was when he came in the league, because to get those assists, you got to have great decision making. Think of it like a quarterback throwing a complete pass to someone he knows is going to score the bucket. That's all really an assist is. This guy is not supposed to be getting 22 points here, 14 points here, 20 points here, 28 points there, because he's 6 feet. Chris Paul, y'all, has been in the league ever since forever. There should be a book out on how to defend against him, but it doesn't seem like that's the case, as he's about to be 36 years old and still doing the same shit. So, not many people can stop Mr. Chris Paul, aka CP3. Now, you want to argue that when he got traded from the Clippers down to OKC last year, that was just a team. Yeah, they're just going to go through the motions, this, that, and the third. Well, now, wait a minute. He goes there and completely changed the culture at OKC. How did that happen? I guess leadership. That's not going to show up in NBA.com stats, y'all. It's not going to happen. Okay. Well, you could argue, oh, yeah, that's OKC. They got it. I mean, even though Kevin Durant and Westbrook ain't there, they still got a stable culture because they built it, yada, yada, yada. Okay, cool. I would give you that. But now, wait a minute, y'all.
Go to Phoenix.
He's with the Phoenix Suns. Now, let me tell you something about the Phoenix Suns. We're 90s kids, grew up in the 80s, but really flourished in the 90s. So I would define ourselves as 90s kids because that's when we, quote unquote, grew up. A lot of things that we like or dislike comes from the 90s era. Well, here's what I remember about Phoenix during the 90s, right? They had your Charles Barkleys there. They had your Kevin Johnsons there, right? They had a great, great team during the 90s. You could argue that if it wasn't for Jordan and the boys, that they probably could have caught one, a ship. A Larry O'Brien, but I digress. Well, since Charles Barkley, your Kevin Johnsons, and those guys left, Phoenix, yeah, they had your Steve Nash, and Steve Nash kept them relevant, I would say, pretty much throughout the mid 2000s, right?
Amari Stoudemire,
but then Steve Nash,
right? Yeah.
And Amari Stoudemire, thank you, right? Mm-hmm. But then now you could argue when they left, all you could see, just imagine yourself in a desert with a bowl of tumbleweeds just blowing across the field. It ain't really been too much going on with the Phoenix Suns. And then they pick up Devin Booker. Well, Devin Booker is a young phenomenon. He is a stud. No one is arguing that. But Devin Booker, if I'm not mistaken, has been there for at least 3 to 4 years. My numbers might be off a little bit. Let's just say 3 years just to be nice. Well, they're not sniffing the playoffs. They're not doing any of that. But then CP3 gets there. CP3, along with Devin Booker, not only did the Phoenix Suns clinch a spot in the playoffs this past week, they are number 2 in the West. Now you may say, whoa, but Devin Booker is really matured in this, that, and the third, and I don't disagree with that. That's true. 2 things can be true at the same time. Mm-hmm. My argument, y'all, is that who helped them mature? Because here's the thing about head coaches, in my opinion, even though I've never been in an NBA locker room, anything like that, I'm just going off the riff of what I've seen. Coaches are kind of like parents, right? You have wonderful children. We've all been children of someone, obviously, or else we wouldn't be here. And much as we love our parents, it could come across as white noise after a while. Yeah, Ma. Yeah, Dad. Yeah. Oh, yeah, I know I'm supposed to do. Yeah, I know I'm going to say my prayers and take my vitamins and do it the Hulk Hogan way. Yeah, I know. Yes. But it hits a little bit different when it's coming from your peers. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to present the case of CP3 being that peer to Devin Booker and showing you, hey, I may not have a ship, but I can at least put us in the best position to get one. I know I've hit my head against the proverbial brick wall X amount of times. I have clashed at it with my teammates, but look, man, I'm a hard nose. And if you're lazy, you're not going to like me. But if you want to be great, I'm going to show you how to do this, son. And let's credit Devin Booker for taking the knowledge that Mr. CP3 has bestowed upon him, because now it seems like the game has slowed down for Devin Booker and really the whole team. Because here's the thing about coaches. You got good coaches and bad coaches, and they're all contagious, right? It doesn't seem like to me that Phoenix now, as of CP3 being there, is cool with just going through the motions. Mm-hmm. It doesn't seem like Phoenix Suns is just cool with putting up individual accolades. But we don't really stand a chance against your Lakers or your Clippers. Says who? CP3, I would imagine is saying, says who? See, that's that mentality that you got to shake when you're in any sport. It's that mentality that you got to shake when you're an entrepreneur. Well, that don't make any sense because such and such is doing it like this over here. So what? We're doing it like this over here. That's what I would imagine that CP3 is saying to Devin Booker. You got the talents. Let me show you how to be a great leader. And let me tell you something right now, man. Phoenix is up 2 games on the Denver Nuggets of being in second place. Will they finish second place? I think they can. I really do. With Denver losing Jamal Murray, with the Clippers being the Clippers, which I like to call them getting Clipperfied, whatever that means. It's not really a good thing. It's not a bad thing. It's just a Clipper thing. I'll let y'all figure that out. The Lakers, we're not going to really be able to make up. We got 36 wins to Phoenix 45. We're not going to catch them for that. So I could argue that, really, to be honest, it wouldn't surprise me if the Phoenix Suns finish number one in the West. Really wouldn't. They're only one game behind the Utah Jazz, and Utah Jazz did not have Donovan Mitchell.
It's possible.
Why? It is extremely possible. So I would imagine that at this point right now, it is go time for CP3, right? And what I love about CP3, and what I love damn near as much as I love them State Farm commercials that he's in, even with his cousin Cliff, it's not all about him. It's never all about Chris Paul. Chris Paul gets off on getting other people involved. Now, the good thing about Chris Paul, if you need a shot, I could create one. If you need a three, I could get you one, but I want you to do that. I'm going to set you up to do that. He is truly a quarterback of the game. And you can't sit up here and ignore what he's doing with Phoenix, man, and getting everybody right. Because again, I would be willing to bet my house, my job, and my cars that if Chris Paul wasn't there, I don't even think they would be in the playoffs. But let's just say if you want to say they would be in the playoffs, they wouldn't be number two. Come on, give me a break. We need to be honest with ourselves. Chris Paul, aka CP3, is that dude. I'll rest my fucking case.
I agree with you, bro. Absolutely, man. He's one of those bulldog point guards, man. That like you said, he's 6 feet. How the hell is he even averaging 9 rebounds a game? What are y'all doing? The fuck is y'all doing out there? I mean, it's just like the same thing with him and Luka. What are y'all doing out there? You know what I mean? And like you said, and I want to speak to something real quick about what you said about Chris Paul. About you said how he gets off from getting other people involved. I want to talk about how he is basically rejuvenated, brought back from the dead, for lack of a better words, DeAndre Ayton. Let's talk about that for a minute.
Oh boy,
let's talk about that. Because man, a lot of people haven't really spoken on that. A lot of people haven't really spoken on DeAndre Ayton, being the fact that he was the number one pick. You would think that we would have heard a lot more. You would have thought that he would have been because what was it? He was coming out. He was the Shaquille O'Neal down there in Phoenix. Not so much. Pump your brakes. Not so much. Not so much. No. He went through the motions. As a young rookie, you know what I mean? He went through the motions. I can even imagine of being part of a losing organization. You know what I mean? I can imagine him and Devin they didn't have the chemistry that they might have thought they would have had. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I can only imagine because a lot of people haven't spoken on this and got his view of maybe what maybe he felt when it was talks of what was it? What's his name? Devin Booker and Karl Anthony Towns and what was it? D'Angelo Russell. They was talking They was talking about maybe teaming up. Nobody even stopped to ask, hey, DeAndre, how did you feel about that? Because I can only imagine. Because if we talking about turn of events, it seems like to me around that time is when DeAndre started maybe losing his weight, slimming down a little bit more, getting a little bit more basketball shape-ish, if you will. You know what I mean? And then all of a sudden, here comes Chris Paul. You think Chris Paul gonna sit there and go for that half-ass mediocre bullshit that maybe DeAndre was down there doing, that maybe some people maybe deemed that as when he got there? Because DeAndre stats have went up. He's damn near averaging a double-double a game. No, I'm talking about he may be averaging a double-double. And I'm talking about quietly.
On the low.
On the low. Yeah. You talking about right now with CP being down there, he's become a high pick and roll scoring guy. He's starting off at the top of that pick and roll, and then he's going left for the lob. Hello, you know what I mean? He's actually developing his post-up game a lot more than CP has been down there. Then I think that people need to give him a lot more credit for it because he's one of the last players that are doing the old man post-up game. I would say maybe him and Embiid. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. You're right.
Yeah, so yeah, give him time to develop and give him time for that leadership to pay off that CP3 is down there doing, because he's down there doing the Lord's work in Phoenix. Yeah, y'all was
really
all right. Yeah, y'all was all right with Booker. But man, y'all have emerged from the ground up with the leadership of
that
CP3.
Culture, man.
Man, I'm so glad you spoke on that, man. I really am.
Great. Culture's great. Yep.
Man.
Yep.
He has shifted that culture, man. He has shifted to.
He is, and I tell you one thing real quick. When the Lakers got screwed, when we got screwed over for getting CP3 years ago by God rest his soul, the angel of Stern, David Stern, that hurt my feelings because I know what we could have had with him being a Laker. Could you? And I hate to do this because it doesn't really matter at this point. But I mean, can you imagine the intellectual prowess of Kobe Bryant and CP3 on the same team? Just let that sink in for a minute. You're talking about a floor general of CP3 and the intellectual fucking mind of Kobe Bryant. That's what we got robbed of, y'all. That's what we got screwed out of in Laker Nations. And that move kind of sent us on, it set us back a few years. I mean, we still end up getting some ships, but man, them ships was a whole hell of a lot harder than what it could have been. I hate to bring that up, but it just sometimes you just sit back and you reminisce and you wonder what could have been with those two mother fathers on the court at the same damn time. That's how great CP3 was, is, and will continue to be. Because you look at what he's doing at Phoenix with basically young guys today as of May the 2nd. And just imagine what he would have been doing with the Lakers in the late 2000s when we got screwed out of that Chris Paul trade. We never quite recovered from that. We're fine now, but we had some dark days, dog, and it was just some tough ones, and it didn't really have to be.
I agree, man. I agree.
Yeah, that's a tough one. That's a tough one.
Shout out to Chris Paul down there doing the Lord's work down there in Phoenix, man.
Fact.
I mean, them young boys look so energized with that old man down there. Old man in basketball terms. He's still a young man. Chris Paul is still in good shape. Still a young man. Got a lot more life to do.
Absolutely.
Basketball world, man. Them young boys down there having a blast with that old man. And I love it. I love it, man.
Yes, sir.
Salute to Chris Paul.
Sir.
North Carolina's finest, baby. You know what I mean?
Yes, sir.
Yo, man, you know, Corey, with me, you know, I know you might not as much, but you know, I play a lot of video games. You know what I mean? I play a lot of video games in my spare time. And you know, I was playing the game, you know, this week, a couple of different ones, man. Specifically, I was playing MLB The Show 21. And
okay.
I just got to just thinking, man. Like, I got to thinking about, you know, back in the Sega days and the Super Nintendo and the regular Nintendo days, you know, I got to just reminisce about, you know, some of my favorite games, man. I
love this topic.
I used to play, man. Yeah. So it got me wanting to talk about this topic here, you know, on our podcast, man. And I just specifically want to know, man, what are your 2 to 3 favorite football specifically? I know I said I was playing the show, but I got to think about, you know, my favorite football games, man, of all time. And you know, man, for my 2 to 3 games that I have, man, you know, I don't know if you played them, but I want to start at the top of my list, man.
Okay, let's go.
Man, one of my favorite football video games to play, man, which it was on Sega. It might have been on Super Nintendo. Okay. I played it on the Sega. Was Bill Walsh College Football, man.
Okay.
I don't know if you ever got a chance back in the day to play the Bill Walsh College Football.
I don't think I played that one. Okay.
Man, Bill Walsh College Football was before its time, man. I mean, it was almost, for me, it was almost the Madden of college football at that time, man. And I know, I know a lot. Probably most of our listeners are old or older like us. You know what I mean? Within their, our peer range, 30 to 40 years old.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
if you ever got a chance back in the day, you had, you played the Bill Walsh College football. You know what I'm talking about, Corey. I'm talking about, man. The hits on this game were next level hits. I mean, this was one of the first video games where when you hit one of the players, they did like a flip in the air. And this was on Sega. So you gotta imagine, because most games coming out then with just, your regular tackle. It wasn't the hitting that Madden was delivering, in the late 90s up until now, where they were really showing, solid hits. I mean, this game, man, like with cornerbacks, they back then, they were leading with their helmet. They were taking their helmet and going at your feet and really causing the opposing like teams or running backs or receivers to really flip over. You know what I mean? That was a thing. If you think about, the Rod Woodson days, you know what I mean? And the Deion Sanders days, and the Ronnie Lott days, they were really leading with their helmet and trying to flip you over. Corey, man, that Bill Walsh College football was capturing all that, man. I mean, it was exciting. It was one of the first games where it allowed the quarterback to actually jump over the parallel at the goal line.
Wow. I'm gonna have to check that out, man. I didn't even know Bill Walsh did that.
Yeah, Bill Walsh had most people know Bill Walsh as a coach. You know what I mean? A lot of people didn't know that he had a football game. He definitely had a football game. One of my favorites.
I did not know that. Okay.
Man, one of my favorites ever, man. Shout out to Bill Walsh College football. Man, it was a classic, man. My second favorite one, man, and I only got two. My second favorite one, man, and I know you have to remember this, and it was on Sega. Don't think it was on Nintendo, not Nintendo, Super Nintendo. I definitely know it wasn't on Nintendo, but it definitely was on Sega. And man, I want to talk about Joe Montana Sports Talk, man. Oh man,
that was one on my list. That was one on my list. That was one on my list. Speak on it, and I'm gonna come behind you. You took my number 2 right there,
Corey.
You took my number 2. You son of a gun.
Oh,
go ahead.
Man.
That was on the Sega Genesis 16-bit. One of my favorite games today. I'm sorry. Go ahead, bro. You just got me so amped in like 3.5 nanoseconds. Go ahead, bro.
I'm so glad you amped, man. I'm so glad you amped, man. Because Corey, that game was so nostalgic. It was one of the first games you could actually do the high step on. Man, I'm talking about take your pick, sports talk, whatever year they made them for. Pick one. They was all fire. He had about 3 of them at least. That was all great, man. I loved them, man. Man, let me tell you something, man. It was called sports talk for a reason. You talk about the commentating on that game was next level. It was exciting. It brought you back to want to keep playing and playing and playing, especially when you got an interception. It was picked off. Interception. Oh, my God. I forgot the exact guy who was calling that game. But, man, let me tell you something. The commentating on that game, the calling on that game was next level. It was exciting. It was fun. The gameplay was next level. Oh, my goodness, man. Joe Montana Sports Talk Football. For me, I think it was like 92, 93 for me is the one that did it for me. I don't know. Man, Joe Montana. Salute to Joe Montana. Salute to Sega. Man, Corey. Hell of a game. One of my favorites.
You know, that game, and if you're the younger audience and if you're YouTuber, you're gonna be like, man, what's so good about this game? Allow yourself to be educated through Google and YouTube, because at that time there was no continuous sports commentary on a video game. You might have one in some games where it's like if you got a real good hit on somebody, boom, like a John Madden, the early John Maddens or something like that. Or, like if someone threw a pick, interception, and then that's it. This was the first game that I remember that really incorporated sports talk into gameplay on a home console platform. And when you're lining up, they're talking. When you're playing, they're talking. After the play is over, they're talking. And the voices by today's standards is kind of robotic. But for its time, for what it was in the early 90s, that was just unheard of before. You just didn't see that. And you got to keep in mind, these aren't, I don't even know what bit machines, if they're even counting bits with the PlayStation 5s or the Xbox. I don't know. What I do know is this.
Nah, it's terrible.
Nintendo.
It's terabytes now and stuff like that.
Okay. So see that goes to show, far as I quit, because see, back in our day, a video game system was rated on the bits. And all a bit is 8-bit, 16-bit, 64-bit. It just means to show how much info that you could pack into a game by having great graphics and having more things going on simultaneously to make it look more realistic. That's all it is. So you listen to the music on a traditional Nintendo, it's not going to compare to that of a Super Nintendo or a Sega Genesis, because Nintendo's 8-bit. These were 16 bits, and so forth and so forth. To have sports talk on a 16-bit gaming system at that time was revolutionary. I mean, I remember my father, he bought me that game, and keep in mind, this was really before like the popularity of Madden. We're not going to compare it to that, because that's almost not fair. The technology makes it obviously superior in regards of what you can do with it. I'm talking about working with what you had at that time. And one of the first things my dad said was like, wow, this is like watching a real football game. Like, I mean, and it's like, it was just so amazing with that. And that game has been burnt into my memories, of my opinion, definitely one of the greatest football games for what it is at that time. Man, that oh man, when you said that, I just lit up. Lit up, man.
It's one of them. It's one of them. If you know, you had to be there. You wasn't there.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. It's one of those situations. You know what I mean.
You had to be there.
You had to be there for that sports talk, baby. And I want to say real quick and let you go on, like
yeah.
Because Madden, because I want to tell the people, the younger audience that are listening. Yes, Madden was out. I think Madden might have came out in 90-91. Madden was doing this thing. Sports Talk, which came after that. Joe Montana, that is Sports Talk. It came a little bit after that, but they were competing at the time. And let me tell you, man. Hey, I don't know if Madden, pulled one of his Madden tricks and then ended up buying out the rights then, because after a while they stopped making the Joe Montana and things of that nature, and it was only Madden.
Yes.
But let me tell you, Madden didn't hold a candle to that Sports Talk.
No. And it's easy. It's real easy to say that Madden is the king. I mean, it's almost by default now. But you're right. You had a jumble of games in the early 90s. And I do think that EA Sports probably either, and I don't know this to be fact, someone can look that up. But I'm just saying, this is how, the whole big fish takes little fish type deal, where it's like, oh, they probably bought out the rights, or they either sold it. And next thing you know, it's kind of like, okay, well, Madden is the only thing that's out. Or whatnot. But man, that Joe Montana Sports Talk, man, for the Sega Genesis was a beautiful game, man. And I'm telling you, it's great. I bring back some memories on that one there, buddy. I would be remiss if I didn't list my number one football game of all time. This is a game, ladies and gentlemen, that made me fall in love with real football. As a kid, as an 8 or a 9-year-old, I was into video games first, real sports second, or whatnot. A lot of times when I played games, I learned about who was on the team based upon whatever video game I played. And you got to understand, even like in the late 80s, a lot of times the NFL or the NBA or whoever, they wouldn't even license out their roster for these games. It would be like a whole bunch of no-name guys. But this was one of the first games that I remember that was licensed by the NFL. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to bring it back to 1987, maybe 1988. And I'm going to say one of my favorite games of all time is going to be Tecmo Bowl. For the Nintendo Entertainment System.
Yes.
That is the game. That is the game that made me fall in love with the real NFL. I couldn't follow real sports at that time because that would have put me at like 7 or 8 years old. That is the game that made me fall in love with the San Francisco 49ers. I didn't know anything about a Joe Montana or Jerry Rice. I thought Jerry Rice was food. His last name was Rice. I'm a kid at this time. And my dad was like, "Oh yeah, you picked a real good team." And I'm like, "Yeah." Right. And keep in mind, the original Tecmo Bowl, if I'm not mistaken, they only had either between 8 to 10 10 teams that you could play with at that time. In the early 90s, I want to say it was either 89 or maybe been 1990 on the dot, they remixed the game and it was called Super Tecmo Bowl. Little bit better fluidity, added more teams, and it was hard as hell to play. And we used to have a rule in my neighborhood. There was a gentleman who used to play for the Los Angeles Raiders. You may have heard of him. Also played for the Kansas City Royals. Gentleman goes by the name of Bo Jackson. Bo Jackson was one of the coldest running backs of all time in real life. Now, in Tecmo Bowl, he was like God. And Bo Jackson, if you play with the Raiders on Tecmo Bowl, we used to have a rule. You could play with anybody except for the Raiders because you would automatically win because you could not tackle him. Nope. You could not stop him. Nope. You could try to do a gang tackle unofficially, obviously, with 3 or 4 players try to rough him down. Yep. You hit the A button 30,000 times on a Nintendo joystick and he will shake him off and he'll keep running. Yep. So in our neighborhood, when we used to have Tecmo Bowl tournaments, you could not play with the Raiders for that reason because it was not fucking fair to play with the Raiders with Bo Jackson. It was borderline not fair to play with the 49ers as well. My dad was like, well, if you like the 49ers on the game, you ought to see how they do in real life. And I picked the 49ers because red is my favorite color. That's really the only reason I picked them as a kid on that video game. And he was like, well, son, they're really pretty good in real life too. And I'm like, really? I'm like, okay, yeah. He's like, you do know that's what the game is based off of. I didn't know anything about NFL licensing. I was like, oh, wait a minute. There's really someone named Joe Montana who could do this. There's really someone by the name of Roger Craig who could do this. There's really a Ronnie Lott who could just go through scrimmages and sack people. Yes. There's really that. He's like, yes. And when I watched my first 49ers game, I'm like, oh my God, it wasn't like the video game is like the real life football as a kid. It was like the real life football is just like this video game. This is awesome. Like that. And man, let me tell you something, man. They had a documentary on Tecmo Bowl, I want to say a few years ago, and there are still small towns. They somehow made it to where you could play it online. I have no idea how, where they still have Tecmo Bowl tournaments, and they upload them with current rosters. That's how much of a cult classic that game has become.
Oh, that's crazy. That's ridiculous. I can only imagine, bro, me being in a Tecmo Super Bowl tournament in 2021.
And you know what's crazy? Because you look at Nintendo and people look at Nintendo where the original Nintendo where, okay, you only got 2 buttons. How complex can it be? That has nothing to do with the level of difficulty that the games were on a Nintendo Entertainment System. I would argue, I don't know much about Xbox. I play PlayStation. But let me tell you something. Nintendo games, in my opinion, as it stands to date, are some of the hardest games, difficulty-wise, that you can ever play.
Yeah.
I'm not going to veer off track too much because this could be a whole separate podcast. But you look at your Double Dragon video games of the late 80s.
Immediately, that's crazy. Immediately, my mind went to Double Dragon. Immediately, without even saying it.
Hard.
My mind went. Oh my God, my mind immediately went to Double Dragon.
The only time I could beat that game was with a device known as a Game Genie. With that, my Nintendo heads know exactly what I'm talking about. You start looking at the difficulty of games, bringing it back to Tecmo Bowl. Look, man, it's nothing for you to throw an interception on Tecmo Bowl. No. It's nothing. Matter of fact, that's going to happen. Now, the only issue is when is it going to happen? right? And to kind of bring some simplicity to it, to those who had never had the pleasure of playing, was that, well, you play your defense by playing offense. You're like, well, what do you mean? Well, here's what happened. If you were able to guess the play of your opponent when you're playing offense, it was pretty much an automatic blitz off gate. I mean, you're not evading it. You're not worried about what the left tackle. None of that shit matters. You're done. That's an automatic sack, period, point blank. And the difficulty of that game, I think, will stand up to almost any other football game that's out right now. Tecmo Bowl is one of my favorites. It is also one of my most frustrating video games because you can't. It's real tough to beat. It's really tough to beat, man. Tecmo Bowl and Super Tecmo Bowl, man, that will go down as history as one of the most fun yet frustrating games of all time, and that was so par for the course for the Nintendo Entertainment System. I would like to also throw a honorable mention. I want to say this game came out on PlayStation in 03. I want to say was NFL Blitz. NFL Blitz turned. It was basically an NBA Jam version of NFL football, where you can like clothesline players and do a whole bunch of illegal shit that you would never be able to do in the real football games. I want to give a shout out to NFL Blitz. That game was also good as well.
While we at it, let me give a shout out to Mutant League Football too. While we at it, you know what I mean? You know what I mean? Mutant League Football was all right. Mutant League Football was all right. I used to play that too.
Yeah.
That was
okay.
Right. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Boy, that brings it down memory lane right there.
Man, that's memory lane right there, baby. That's the childhood, man. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I felt like that would be definitely a good conversation to have on the show, man. You know what I'm saying? So I had to throw that in there, man. You know, to bring some nostalgia back.
Yeah, man. Good stuff.
So. Yeah, man. Yo, that's our show for the day. You know what I mean? Like, we hope everybody enjoying the podcast. You know what I mean? Please keep all the calls, texts, you know what I mean? And the viewership coming on Instagram, YouTube, you know what I mean? SoundCloud, wherever you listening and watching that. We definitely appreciate it. You know what I mean? Keep it coming. If not,
word up.
Shout out to the people that are listening for the first and last time, because this will not stop. This will not stop. This will not
word up.
Stop.
All right.
You know what I mean? You know? So yeah, man. Yo, tap in to the Skyzone.Society network, view all the shows, the podcasts, you know what I mean, the web series, the videos. Got a bunch on the channel for y'all. Make sure y'all tapping in. You know what I mean? Make sure y'all peep the podcast out, coming out Saturdays. You know what I mean? Should be out by the time you wake up in the morning, whether it be on the SoundCloud or YouTube. You know what I mean? Throw it in while you're driving. You know what I mean? Listen to it while you're at work to get you through your day. You know what I mean? Whenever you get a chance, just throw on the zone and get in the zone, baby. You know what I mean? Corey, you know what I mean?
All right.
I'm going to holler at you, man. You know what I mean? I'll be tapping in with you this week. Be safe out here. You know what I mean? You feel me?
Until we meet again, my brother.
Peace, bro.